it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Bittt. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Monday, February 3rd. Thank you, everyone, for being there tonight on YouTube Live and on Facebook Live. Eric Engels of Sportsnet at sportsnet.ca will join me in just a couple of minutes. Shane Gaumont is at Master Control. The Canadiens have lost, very unfortunately, 5 games in a row. Who would have thunk it, especially after prior to that, they were on a streak of 13-3-1 was their record at 17 games. But unfortunately, as they say, when you play roulette every now and then here in La Belle Province, rien ne va plus, rien ne va plus. And right now, nothing is working for the Montreal Canadiens. They're going to look to get back to their winning ways tomorrow night when they visit the Sharks in San Jose. And then on Wednesday night, they will visit the Kings in Los Angeles. Please note that because of the late time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday night for the game, and the same time on Wednesday night for the game, that there will not be a sick podcast on Tuesday or Wednesday. I love you all, but to broadcast a podcast at 1 a.m. Eastern or around 1:15 a.m. Eastern, we're not there yet, but who knows? Maybe one day. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by several sponsors that we thank very, very much for all their help and all their support, one of which is Energy Transportation Group, who have been with us for quite some time. They're leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. La Bittt Tibi and the Geloso Beverage Group was our first ever sponsor, and we thank them very much. They've launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for chilly winter days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It is ultra light, and it is ultra refreshing. Now on to Playground. You can celebrate the Super Bowl Sunday at Playground. That's right, at Playground, with a tailgate menu starting at 2 p.m., featuring game day classics like wings, burgers, loaded cheese fries, and their game-breaking fried basket. Enjoy $25 Heineken buckets and catch all the action on their huge screen. Kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. Don't miss the biggest football event of the year. Visit playground.ca for details. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest tonight. He's a collaborator every Monday on non-Montreal Canadiens game nights. Eric Engels.
What's up, Tony?
What's going on?
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good.
Where are you?
We're both wearing glasses today.
We are both wearing glasses. I keep mine on. I keep them off. I put them on. I keep them off. They're reading glasses for me. And so when I want to thank some of our sponsors, obviously I put them on. Other than that, I will take them off.
Yeah, I use mine for distance, and I don't really need them right now either. So I too.
Okay.
Take them off.
Where are you?
I'm at home.
You're at home?
Yeah,
Oh, you're not on
home.
the trip, eh?
I am not on the trip. No, I am at home. I'm covering the Four Nations face-off. So I'll be spending a week in Boston, and thinking here is that there's going to be some relevant games down the line, despite what you're seeing with the results with the Canadiens of late. And we got a lot of work to do between now and the trade deadline. I've got GM meetings coming up.
Yeah.
And because this is a trip to California where the games are so late and there was limited practice time and the Canadiens had spent most of January at home.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way we made it our decision.
I see. I didn't want to start the show this way, But because you talked about the Four Nations tourney, I'm happy that for at least the next month, that whole tariff thing is going to be on the
on the back burner.
On the back burner. That's what I was looking for, because, or else, we've already heard the booing of the U.S. anthem across arenas in Canada. Tonight, I believe the Canadian anthem was booed. Could you imagine that game between Canada and the U.S. at the Four Nations tourney?
I don't think anything's going to change in terms of the atmosphere. It's going to be pretty charged up, and I think there's, you kick a hornet's nest, you're going to get stung, and that's. I think we're going to see. I don't like to see the anthem. I don't like to see the anthems played, honestly, at sporting events. Personally, I always put out tweets about it being a one anthem game and thanking the Lord that it is when the two Canadian teams play each other. That's going to take on a different meaning if I keep doing that. So I'm going to stop doing that now, because I'm not looking to get into the political discourse around that. But ultimately, these are sporting events. They are not, and even an international event like this one, I just don't think it has its place. But it's going to be there, and people are going to boo. If people are not prepared for that outcome, well, get ready, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, you know what? I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I loved watching the late Roger Doucette sing the anthem. I thought he was unbelievable. I got a kick of Jeanette Renaud singing the anthem in previous years when the Montreal Canadiens made the playoffs. There was a certain buzz in the building that you didn't have when Jeanette wasn't there. But at the same time, what does it stand for, really? What is it? What's its purpose? Now, some people say that it's a moment of focus for the players before the game. It gives them a chance to think about what's going to happen. It gets the adrenaline going. It gets them motivated. Maybe. I don't know. So I'm not an athlete. I never was.
Not a good enough reason to keep it going. I don't know if you agree.
I don't know. But so I've said this before. Forget about tradition for a second, because we know that it's been part of the game for the longest time. And forget about how excited you are to watch Jeanette sing for a second. Try to convince me, what's the use of having the anthem, considering even that
there isn't one.
You might play a Canadian anthem and there might be more American players, or you might play the American anthem and you might have more Canadian players. And you know what? I wouldn't be opposed to getting rid of it, because look, what's going on over the last couple of weeks here with the booing of the anthem. Tonight, the Canadian anthem was booed in Nashville once again. I don't know. For me, it just takes up 4 or 5 minutes that you can actually just get to the game faster. Let's go.
Listen, people have their right to do whatever they're going to do and voice their displeasure in one way or another, and that's part of live sports. As far as the anthems are concerned, it's a tradition, and I'm not for just doing away with traditions in general, but when they have very little significance outside of the fact that they're just being held because they're tradition, I just don't see the value in it. I don't think there is enough attached to the anthems being played before sporting games. And anybody who wants to make the argument that it's a moment of focus for the players, I mean, I think they'll find something else to get them motivated for a game within the 24 hours they spend waiting for it to be played. It's just, to me, it's ridiculous. And I don't think it has a place in sports. I don't think I'm alone in that opinion. Clearly, I'm not, considering that you seem to share the same one. And yeah, I think we can probably move on from the subject altogether. But if you're sitting out there and expecting that the Four Nations is going to start in, a week from now, and people are not going to boo the anthem when Canada plays the USA, or when Finland plays the USA, or when it goes to Boston and the USA is playing Canada on home turf, this is just going to be a thing now. A very unfortunate thing that potentially does change the fact that these anthems are played before sporting events, never mind international ones.
Yeah. No, look, it's drawing a lot of reaction. Even once again, I didn't think we were going to start the podcast this way, but it's drawing a lot of reaction, and people are saying it's tradition, man. It's tradition. Well,
yeah,
You know what? It used to be tradition that your girlfriend would wait to the wedding night too. I mean, now, like, you know what? It's probably a fait accompli by the second date. Anyway,
what's attached to this tradition, though? That's the question you have to ask yourself, okay? Because there's a lot of traditions that are worth maintaining. This one, there's nothing attached to it that has a significance in modern society. So, I don't know. I don't buy it. It's okay. We don't have to agree. If you're out there and you disagree, no problem.
We don't have to agree. I think everyone likes the anthem, but whether or not we should still keep it, that's probably a different story. All right, okay. The main story for the Montreal Canadiens, besides the fact that they blew a 2-0 lead yesterday in Anaheim and they lost by a score of 3-2, is that Patrik Laine got one shift in the third period. It was only 32 seconds. The other story is that Kirby Dach only got 3 shifts in the third period. The other story is that when the Canadiens pulled Montembeault, both Laine and Dach were on the bench. Guys like Dvorak and Armia were on the ice. Marty St. Louis, en français, on why he benched Patrik Laine.
Faut que tu sois calculé quand tu prends ces décisions-là. Puis comme entraîneur, des fois, tu vas prendre cette décision-là, puis le lendemain, tu vas peut-être le regretter, ou des fois, tu ne l'as pas pris, cette décision-là, puis le lendemain, tu vas le regretter. Dans le moment, il faut que tu essaies d'écouter comment tu files à ce moment-là. Puis moi, à ce moment-là, je trouvais que cette ligne-là ne nous aidait pas d'un bord ou de l'autre. Puis là, il ne restait pas beaucoup de temps. Là, on courait après la game un petit peu. Fait que c'est des décisions que tu prends.
All right, there you have it. It was actually on why he benched the second line with the goalie pulled and down the stretch. And he said, listen, it's an important decision because you have to ask yourself after what are the ramifications. You have to ask yourself whether or not you're doing the right thing. But look, just in the moment, I didn't think that line was giving us a chance to get back in the hockey game or tie the hockey game or win the hockey game. So that's the decision that I took. Kirby Dach talked about what his line needs to do. Let's listen to Kirby.
You just got to find a way to be a little bit more sharper, a little more consistent in our details. And I think when you're doing the right things, you end up getting rewarded. So just getting back to the basics of the game and just playing the right way. I think.
All right, there you have it. Kirby Dach, we got to get back to the basics of the details. And when you're doing that, you just got to play the right way. Look, I was pretty outspoken earlier this morning on my radio show, Le Forum, on BPM Sports. And I'm going to say the same thing tonight that I said earlier today. For the Canadiens to make the playoffs, they can't afford to have passengers to do it. They're in a rebuild. Not too many people expected them to make the playoffs this year. Their goal was to be in the mix. There's only so many games that they could win with the first line contributing and only the first line contributing. There's only so many games they could win with the power play scoring goals when others don't. There's only so many games they could win with the goalie standing on his head and stealing a game. For them to win even more games, they need constant contribution from the second line. They don't have that. For the most part, I don't even know if they have a second line. I find that Alex Newhook, in an ideal world, is a third-line player. I find that Kirby Dach, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't think he wins enough faceoffs. I don't think his play at 200 feet is good enough. And I don't think that he has the hockey sense or the vision to make him a center for a top 2 line. I know that's debatable. And Patrik Laine, and I said this earlier today, and man, Eric, did I take heat for this? Oh my God. So basically what I said earlier today was, everyone loves Patrik Laine and everyone knows that he can score goals on the power play, especially, and everyone loves his one-timer. But Patrik Laine has been, and probably always will be, a lazy hockey player. He's a guy who doesn't give you his 100% all the time. And as luck would have it, Eric, out of all the things I said about Patrik Laine, what do you think my colleagues put on social media coming out of my mouth? Patrik Laine, he's a lazy hockey player, always has been, always will be, and forget about anything good that I said about him. And man, did I get destroyed over that. But
who are the colleagues?
Oh no, my web team. My web team put that up. You know, that's the only clip that they put up. Hey, listen, it's the clip that's going to get you a lot of reaction, obviously, right? Not going to get a lot of reaction on the nice things I say, and that's okay. But I got grilled pretty good from a lot of people. And then I was told that I don't understand the player. It's not that he's a lazy hockey player. It's that he's got confidence and anxiety issues. And that's why we have what we have. Your thoughts?
Oh, I have multiple thoughts. Look, out of everything you said, the thing I disagreed most with was your assessment of Dach, but that's another subject for another time because I don't think Dach was being benched last night due to his engagement or his lack of focus or this or that. Not really the issue for him. He had a couple of egregious mistakes that made him untrustable for the rest of the night, and it was time to rein him in. You know what's funny, though, watching those plays back, especially the second goal, and everyone talked about Laine being benched in the third period. And, and I don't know if I was the first person to notice, but I tweeted about it right when it was happening. That
I saw that. Yes, you did. In the second period, Laine only saw one other shift after the second goal. And the second goal is the one where everyone is pointing at Dach because he makes the most obvious mistake on the play, right? Savard loses his coverage. Dach goes to do Savard's job when Savard is in plenty good position to recover. He leaves his man all alone in the slot, which is Frank Vatrano, who scores the goal. That's what everybody sees. That's what everybody talks about. This play started with Patrik Laine on the forecheck in the neutral zone, headed towards the puck carrier. And instead of pursuing the puck carrier, he pulls up, reverses, trying to kind of outsmart the play and intercept a pass that isn't coming, ends up in a no zone of defense coverage, has no opportunity to make any type of play, and lends the Ducks the ice to be able to put the Canadiens on their heels and create the breakdowns that they put out. That is not a feature of the Canadian system, okay? You pursue the puck carrier, stick on puck, you pressure that play so that you create the numbers game that you want to have the advantage of. You do not peel off the forecheck. Marty St. Louis talks nonstop about how the forecheck is essential to the Canadiens' blueprint. This is a systemic thing, and there's no confusion about what to do in this situation. You don't pick and choose what your decisions are going to be in a given moment when it comes to this stuff. This is the non-negotiables part of them that Marty St. Louis talks about. He saw one other shift in the second period after that. It wasn't much better, and his one in the third, he did the same exact thing. I'm talking about Laine in terms of pulling up on a forecheck, and that's where after a while, and look, you think it's just based on one game and a couple of shifts. It's not. It's an accumulation of these little things adding up. I don't think Patrik Laine is a lazy hockey player, but I said to you at the beginning of the year, Tony. I do.
I said this many times.
And okay? I think a lot of people in the league think the same thing.
And by the way, I'm talking about Patrik Laine right now and not his history, because you can certainly point to times where he has been lazy.
Mm-hmm.
I told you at the beginning of the year that I had no doubt that Patrik Laine would be productive with the Canadiens, including the day that he was traded to Montreal. No question about whether or not he will be productive. The question for me will be, can he prove he is a hockey player and not just a guy who plays hockey? And I don't think that he had a particularly good chance to do that coming into Montreal, skating just 3 times due to leaving the program, the surgery that he had, whatever the reasons were that he came to camp or came to Montreal 3 weeks, 4 weeks before camp and wasn't in shape to go ahead with a season that we all know has the rigors and demands that you have to be in shape for. I was concerned then, and I was particularly concerned when he got his knee blown out in the second preseason game, right? So my big question for Laine was, as his love for the game and his passion was rekindled by his first experiences in Montreal coming off that injury, and you could clearly see that it was, right? The love that he was receiving from the fans, will that inspire him to make the type of investment he needs to make next summer to prove that he can become a hockey player and not just a guy who plays hockey? And you talk about laziness, but for me, I don't think he's conditioned to play the game all out the way he would like to play it, the way his intentions are probably there to play it. And it leads to some things where he's coloring outside the lines of the playbook here. And he got reeled in for that yesterday.
Are you talking about his conditioning? Are you talking about his conditioning?
Yes, I am.
It's below average. Everyone sees it. I mean, he was winded
and there's reason. Listen. I say this all the time. There are excuses and there are reasons. There are reasons for Patrik Laine's conditioning not being up to snuff, coming in midstream off a knee injury, coming in off a summer where he skated 3 times before coming to Montreal. Now, my question is, does the love he received from Canadiens fans, the passion that is returned to him for this game, which he said he fell out of love with, that he wasn't sure he would ever play again after what he went through last year, will that inspire him to invest this coming summer in what he needs to do from a physical standpoint, so that he can erase the narrative you're talking about? Because it's fair for you to call him a lazy player. It is fair for you to have that assessment when what you see from him on the ice doesn't leave you with another conclusion to draw. Can he erase that himself? I give him just enough of the benefit of the doubt to prove that he can be a different person. I felt that if he could do that at one point or another coming over to Montreal, that would make this trade a grand slam. But the more realistic scenario was, you judge people by their behavior in the past, and until they prove otherwise, that there's a pattern. And the realistic scenario was he would be productive in Montreal and he would net them pieces. And I know people, this is the last thing I'll say on the subject and leave it to you. I know the fan base has been starving for a player who can fill the net with this guy's talent, okay? And I know the fan base looks, and not just the fan base, maybe there's a bunch of people in the media too who look at it the same way as, you have to make exceptions for certain players of this talent level, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The Montreal Canadiens are not building a team to be a very good team. They're not building a team so that they can incorporate talent at all costs because they haven't had enough talent over the last 2 decades plus, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to build a winning team. And if you, as a player, whether your name is Patrik Laine or Juraj Slafkovsky or Yoel Armia, cannot prove that you are a guy that will help this team win when it matters and when they feel they'll be ready to win, if you cannot apply yourself to the standard that is being created within that room, within the culture that they're trying to have around the Canadiens, you will not be a part of their future. And nights like last night were about upholding that standard. That's
correct.
All
and that's why, if I were a betting man and Patrik Laine's contract is up at the end of next season, if you had to ask me tonight, do I think the Canadiens will keep Patrik Laine around and extend that contract? I will say no. Having said that,
that's a safer bet today.
Having said that, if you asked me the same question 1 month ago and he was scoring goals every game on the power play, I would say, I think you got to bring this guy back. But it just goes to show that you have to wait for a bigger sample size for some players. Now, AZ says to me, that's bullshit. You never talked about him being a lazy hockey player when he was scoring goals. I probably didn't. But everyone talked about him being a lazy hockey player over the past couple of years. Or, look,
hang on, Tony.
Patrik Laine has what Kovalev had.
Everybody,
when he's in the mood to play, when he's in the mood to play, he could be the best player on the ice with his eyes closed.
You can close your eyes to this whole thing, but everybody can see this. Everybody can see where the lack of engagement comes in at certain points and certain shifts. These are things that you cannot negotiate with as a head coach in the NHL, especially when you're in the middle of a 5-game losing streak. You can handle it when you're winning some games and the puck is going in the net, but when it's not and the other things start to slip because you're looking for other opportunities to kind of cheat your way into offense, that can't be accepted from any player. If Nick Suzuki was doing that stuff, he might find himself right next to Laine on the bench. And I'm telling you right now, that seems hard to believe, but I believe very firmly that that's how Marty St. Louis would handle it right now. There is a standard that this team built up itself over 2 months of good hockey, okay? They weren't just winning games because their goalies were hot and they were scoring and shooting at a ridiculous percentage. They were outplaying their opposition with every guy bought into the system that they need to play. And if that starts to slip because the confidence dips a little bit, that's not something that you can accept as the coach. And I think if Marty St. Louis could go back earlier in the season and do some of the stuff that he did last night, he would. He learned from that, and he will do that moving forward, no matter who the player is. And but the Nick Suzuki scenario is kind of a silly scenario to even look at, because I don't think you're going to see Nick Suzuki peeling off the forecheck and doing stuff like that. These are non-negotiables, and he's the captain of the team. So, look, Laine has a chance to respond, and Laine has a summer to prove that the love that has come back to him in this game will make him more than just a scorer. Because I will tell you right now, there's nothing that has surprised me about watching him fill the net with 12 goals in 24 games, if that's what it's been.
Yeah.
There's also nothing that has surprised me about the fact that he has not yet proven that he is a hockey player and not just a guy that plays hockey.
So, yeah, you know what? I'm with you on that one. And I'm also going to say this. If Canadiens fans are thinking that Marty St. Louis wasn't happy with Patrik Laine's back check on the second goal of the game for Anaheim yesterday, and that's the sole reason why he only had one shift in the third period.
Come on.
There was a buildup here, and the coach it was a buildup. It was a buildup. It was a buildup. It was a buildup. And that was probably the cherry on the sundae or the icing on the cake, and the coach had enough. Marty St. Louis has not liked, you would get the feeling, Patrik Laine's effort in several games and his lack of production 5-on-5. And yesterday it was, all right, okay, you know what? I've had enough. Now,
Tony, I don't think it's effort. I think it's engagement. It's mental engagement, and it is not something that's negotiable from shift to shift. This is a coach that says nonstop every single action matters on the ice, and we need to take that and not take it for granted. And when he sees that engagement dip to a point where you're starting to color outside the system, outside of those non-negotiables, that's where discipline like this comes into effect. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be about, if Laine goes out next game and he's playing with Yoel Armia and Jake Evans, which is where I expect him to line up for the next game. I think Josh Anderson will be next to Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook, and he scores at 5-on-5, that will not absolve him from doing what he needs to do on the forecheck, on the back check, and making himself mentally engaged to stay within the system and color within the lines here.
Now, I will say this, okay? He is a shooter. We know that. His primary strength is his ability to shoot the puck. He is a scorer. He's a shooter and a scorer more than anything else. And he's not playing with Adam Oates right now. All right? Okay? So that I will say. He's not playing
but take Kirby's last game out of the equation here. Like, are you going to sit here and tell me he hasn't been playing well? He's been playing well. He has been mostly engaged. He has been creating chances. Let's face it, him and Newhook do the hard work on that line. You need three guys on a line to make it work. I'm not. If you're going to sit here and talk about how Patrik Laine is a lazy hockey player, which I don't agree with that assessment, but I understand why you're coming to it. I think it's more an engagement thing, and I think it's more a conditioning thing.
Well, hold on a second. You said it's a conditioning thing, okay? Yeah, and it was obvious to everyone. It was obvious to everyone.
It takes three people, Tony.
That's perfect. Yes, it does. It was obvious to everyone. And once again, I love this discussion because obviously you have your opinion and I have mine, and that doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. But here's the deal. It was obvious to everyone that when Laine joined the Canadiens, he was out of gas right away, right? He was taking those 20-second shifts, and he had to go back to the bench because he was huffing and puffing. And so it's obvious that...
Well, he said it himself.
He said it himself. He admitted it. Now, you say today... I say he's a lazy hockey player, always has been, always will be. He plays when he's in the mood to play, and when he's not in the mood to play, he's not going to go all out. Look, a lot of goal scorers, by the way, a lot of goal scorers cheat, okay? There's some of them that don't. Cole Caulfield probably used to, and he doesn't anymore, right? But after 24 games played, and after more than 2 months that he's been back, and he skated for, I don't know, about 3 weeks before he actually came back, he can't get his conditioning up to speed.
Tony, look at the way the game is played now, man. This isn't 1993 where you show up to training camp and get into shape, okay? These guys don't take the summers off anymore. They work their bags off, and I like, you cannot catch up midstream, and especially not coming off a lower body injury. it is an extremely difficult thing to do. And your conditioning needs to be in a certain place, and conditioning is built up over time. It's not built up by playing games and practicing here and there. And all the Canadians have been doing is playing games here and there. Now, I'm not saying his conditioning is so poor that he can't make it through a game. He can make it through games, and he can do the right things for portions of games. But is he able to do them all the way through for ice time of upwards of 18 minutes on what would be a regular second line deployment right now at 5-on-5? No. I'm sorry. He's not night after night. Maybe one night you get it, maybe one night you don't. And maybe on the one night you don't, he scores on the power play and nobody talks about it. And it's okay. I understand the reaction to people like you and me who talk about it when it's not going well. And when it's going well, we gloss over it because, he makes up for it in other ways. But that is the thing. Like, when you are somewhat of a specialist and you're not doing your specialty and you're not making up for it in other ways, the one thing you can't afford to do is color outside the lines of the system. That is something that will get you in trouble with the coach. And I think there's an honesty between these two people. I trust that Patrik Laine's intentions this year, honestly, when he was traded to Montreal and he was asked about coming back to being a 30-goal scorer and said, no, I want to be more like a 40 to 50 goal scorer. He put a lot on himself, okay? This is a guy that wants to succeed in Montreal. And especially with the reception he's gotten from the fans, he wants to succeed. But there is talking and there is doing. And I don't know if he's in a position to succeed the way he would like to in terms of where he's at physically, although he said today to reporters that are in San Jose that his body feels good. I would love to see what happens if he has a full summer and he takes that love of the game that's come back to him and trains like a real NHL hockey player does in 2025, and what it might do for him and what kind of I don't think we know. I'm not going to close the book on what this player can be. And that's after watching him. When I watched him in Columbus, Tony.
Yes.
I mean, I was there for a Canadiens game where he scored on a breakaway or it was a penalty shot. I can't remember which one. It was one or the other.
Yeah.
He gave up 2 or 3 breakaways and didn't even bother back checking. You talk about lazy and disengaged. That was who he was with Columbus a year ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get full benefit of the doubt.
You said that prior to the Canadiens acquiring him, because when there was talk that they may have, they were probably looking at him. You didn't think it was going to happen because he was not going to fit into the culture of what they wanted to have over here. Right now,
they weren't going to do this. They weren't going to do this. They were not going to do this. Okay,
but they did it. They went out. They got him clearly thinking that they can change him. Okay, but.
No.
So you're saying that
No, they weren't. No. They weren't thinking they could change him. They were thinking that he's got an opportunity to prove he can change himself. They got paid to take his contract. That was the only way that they were going to trade for him, and that was the only way anybody was going to trade for him, and Don Waddell had to get him off the books. So there is a history here, and that history supports your own opinion of the player, okay? I'm just allowing a little bit of benefit of the doubt for the fact that a man who fell out of love with this sport for so long redeemed it a little bit with his experience so far in Montreal. And I hope that drives him to be the player that shuts everybody up. Yeah, because I love the underdog story, man.
So do I. I mean, everyone loves it, right? And everyone loved Rocky too. But look, I'm pulling for the guy. I love his story. I love his one-timer. I love the fact he scores goals. And look, I don't take pleasure in saying that I think he's a lazy hockey player, and I think he's a blue line in hockey player, and I think that he's a cherry picker. I don't take pleasure in these things, and I don't take pleasure. See, but hockey is.
I'm sure you'd be happy if he proves you wrong.
I would be very, very happy if he, once again, like you said, he becomes a hockey player and not just a guy who plays hockey. Now, I said something before, and I'm going to double down on it. I don't think he's playing with a great hockey player or 2 great hockey players either. You see Kirby Dach better than I see Kirby Dach. I know you think he's a better 200-foot hockey player than I do. I know you think he's got better vision than I think he has. I know you said that Kirby Dach has been playing good hockey. I think Kirby Dach played good hockey 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games ago when the Canadiens were on that great streak. In the last 10 games, I think he's got 4 points. I don't think. Well, yes, at the end of it, I don't. Eric, he's got 4 points in his last 10 games.
And what before that he had like 8 goals in his last 12
yeah,
games?
But I understand that. But when you say Kirby Dach's playing better hockey, yeah, he did for a span of 10 games. They've played 52 games thus far.
Yeah.
And Kirby Dach has played 12 good ones.
Listen, no problem. I could take that. I don't judge players just like Patrik Laine. I'm not judging it based on production. Okay. Not solely on production. Okay, I see a major difference in Kirby over the last couple months than the first couple of months. Will he sustain that throughout here at the end of the season? I don't know. I had a conversation with him before the turnaround started where he admitted to me that if he could go back and change some of the things that he did to give himself the best opportunity to come back from a very serious injury in the summer, he would. And the same thing I'm saying about Laine applies to Dach. He's got the benefit of the doubt to go back this summer, or I think if he's wise, stick around Montreal for a fair portion of it and work with their people. Look what that did for Josh Anderson. I'm not even close to throwing in the towel on what that player can be. I'm a believer in that player. And look, I think
it did a lot for Josh Anderson, but Josh Anderson came back a third-line player.
I know, but
5 years ago,
we're not talking about the same situation.
5 years ago, he was a 27 goal scorer.
We're not talking about the same situation.
Yes.
And I think Dach has the ability to be a very good second-line center in this league. I really do. And nothing I've seen in the last couple of months dissuades me from that opinion.
I think he's a winger, and nothing that I've seen since the beginning of his career, 250 games, 37% in the face-off circle, point production of never more than 28 points in a season or whatever it is. Everything I've seen, more than 3 full seasons of hockey, he's still young. He's what? 20?
Well, what did I say to you in December?
He's still young.
What did I say to you about Dach in December?
You got to give it a couple of years. I think you said something like we got to wait until he's 25 or 5 years in the NHL or something like that.
I said these will be the most determinant 12 months of Kirby Dach's career in terms of his future with Montreal and in this league at the position he's slated to play. And since the beginning of December, his game has come up several notches from where it was at the beginning of the year. Did he have a bad game in Anaheim? Yes. Is he going to respond to that? I like his chances. I really do. Is he going to be the player you want to see from here on out? I like the chances better that when this season ends, whenever it does, he goes back and has a heck of a summer and comes back the player that he's supposed to be. But I could tell you right now that if he doesn't, his future in Montreal will be in jeopardy.
Yeah. Listen, the Dach
and there's a lot.
The Dach I've liked the most so far is the Dach that played wing with Caulfield and Suzuki. That's the Dach I've liked most. Doesn't mean
that's fair.
He can't be a better centerman than he is a winger. I'm just saying the Dach I've liked the most so far. That's it.
That's fair. Just I think there was a few times this season where several colleagues were a little premature on saying he's coming. You could see the flashes of him coming back. Since the beginning of December through the end of January, he was back. Like he was not all the way back, but he was doing a lot of the things that made him the type of player that a lot of people were very excited about before he suffered that injury. So I think it's too soon. I don't know. Listen, if the next 29 games or however many are left go the same way that one in Anaheim went, it's not going to look good for Kirby Dach. Might not get till next fall to prove that he's the type of player that I'm saying he'll be. But I don't expect to see that. I think some of the things that have returned to his game, his tenacity on the puck, his dogged stick, his determination, his offense as well. I think we're going to see that featured more often over the final games of the season than less often. So, and look, dude, I'm not right about everything. I'm wrong plenty. And I will admit if I'm wrong about this player, but I still think he's the ability to be a good one. You're bringing up, I think you're making a good argument on the center thing. Look, so long as he can't figure out the face-off circle, it's a big part of playing center and being a reliable one in this league, okay? But I don't know. Give him another player who plays at new hook speed and could potentially finish. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. Like, anyways, he hasn't been taking a lot of face-offs over the last 2 months either. Newhook has been taking the majority of the face-offs on that line.
That is correct. That is correct. And if he's going to be a centerman, though, he's
going to have to work on it.
Face-offs than his wingers for sure.
Good thing Mark Burrow works for the Canadiens.
Let's go to let's hear from Patrik Laine.
It's never fun, but we also understand guys that are going or playing, and we weren't going, so just simple as that. And yeah, just one game, and gonna get back at it. Kind of learn not to worry about that stuff too much. It's just one game in a long season, so those games happen, and just got to be better overall.
All right. Okay. I think he also talked about how he felt on his confidence. I think we had 2 clips. Do we have another one?
Body feels pretty good. I think skating feels good. Obviously, confidence is not super high, but minus that, I think feeling pretty good. But it's kind of hard even if your body's feeling great, if your pucks are bouncing and confidence is not quite there. It's makes it a little harder, but just gotta bring something else on the table if you're not feeling your best offensive game at the like last night, but just gotta work. So.
All right, there you have it. Patrik Laine got to work. Obviously, talked about his confidence not being very high. Or Laine and or Dach going to get on the board tomorrow night in San Jose. Go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Eric, you're Marty St. Louis. Patrik Laine got 1 shift in the third period. Kirby Dach got 3. When they pulled Montembeault, both players were on the bench.
Hold on. Kirby Dach did not get 3. He got 2. He got 1 where he stepped out of the penalty box and skated to the bench, which was 6 seconds.
Okay. So it was 2.
Because I've heard a lot that he's gotten 3.
He got 2. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the correction. All right. So I think I've been saying it wrong all day. I thought he had 3. Okay, he had 2.
It's not just you. It's logged as 3 shifts, but one of them was him stepping out of the box for 6 seconds.
Okay. So that's it. So that's me taking a look at the stats. You're Marty St. Louis. What do you do with those 2 players tomorrow night going into San Jose?
I don't do anything with them specifically. I like I said, I think you're going to see Dach with Newhook and Anderson. I like 3 players playing at the same speed. I think that has potential, especially with the way Josh Anderson is playing, and maybe it even leads to a bit more offense for Anderson. I think Laine playing with Evans and Armia potentially takes some of the dirty work off his plate anyways. If I'm him...
So you like it? You like the line changes?
I do. I actually do, because we've seen a rotation on that line. Now, listen. It is I don't want to say
he's actually, if I can, he's playing Laine with 2 more responsible defensive players.
It's not guaranteed that that's the case, but it looks as though those will be the lines, especially with Anderson didn't practice today, and I know that Pizzetta skated with Gallagher and Dvorak. So you would think that David Reinbacher was taking line rushes with Dach and Newhook. You would think Anderson will be there. If he wasn't going to be there, you'd have Pizzetta taking those rushes with those players so that you have something going. If you're Marty St. Louis, I don't think you need to address anybody individually, okay? Marty St. Louis likes to say, I take care of the guys who take care of the team. The message to the team is take care of the team. Do what we expect you to do when you get on the ice, and that means playing our system, forechecking hard, back-checking hard, pressure up the walls, through the middle of the ice. And as long as you stick to that and take care of the collective will take care of your individual game. If you start coloring on your own page, you're not going to play. Like that's just the way it has to be. And that, to me, Tony, is much more important than making the playoffs for the Canadiens this year. This year is about creating winning habits. It is about elevating a standard and holding people to account to that standard. It is about an identity that was formed over 2 months of hockey that was not just a luck out. They had the 7th best win percentage in the league, points percentage in the league over that time. And it was because they outplayed their opposition with a full commitment to the way Martin St. Louis wants them to play. And look, he's not picking and choosing who he does it. I've saw people talking about, well, he puts Mike Matheson on the ice nonstop after the mistakes. Mike Matheson doesn't work on his own playbook here. Okay. Mike Matheson follows the system. He makes mistakes. It doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes, but he doesn't just start deciding when he's going to back check and forecheck and make plays and pressure the puck in certain areas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a feature of Mike Matheson's game.
Yeah.
This is about taking care of the guys who take care of the team. You take care of the team, the collective game rises. The collective game rises, the individuals get their cookies. That's how it works. And it worked real well for a couple months. And when I heard Marty's clips today and he said, we're not that far off. I know we're finding ways to lose right now, but we're not that far off. I don't think he's wrong, by the way.
Well,
but
look,
you cannot. The Canadiens are not the Toronto Maple Leafs. They don't have William Nylander and Austin Matthews to fill the net with 7 goals when they don't have their A game. You need everybody.
So look,
everybody's got to be on the same page.
Marty at one point was telling us, you know what? I like what I'm seeing, even though the Canadiens were losing games. I like what I'm seeing. And to tell you the truth, I couldn't understand what he was saying. I said, you got to be kidding me. And all of a sudden they go on a run of like 13-3-1. So obviously he knew what he was seeing and he was right about what he was seeing. The problem that I have right now is that the Canadiens, the way they're playing, they're not nearly as bad as they were in the month of October, where they had 5 losses where they got totally blown out of the building. The problem I have right now is that defensively and in their defensive zone coverage, some of the decision-making and some of the confusion that's taking place, they don't remind me of the Canadiens in October. They do remind me of the Canadiens in November. So the Canadiens in November were better than they were in October, but you were still seeing, and then all of a sudden around mid-December, they started to turn it around with those 2 big wins in Detroit and with, those big wins on the road in Florida and in Tampa and in Vegas. And
every action matters. Okay. You want to look at Dach losing Vetrano in the slot. I understand that's the big glaring mistake on a play. Okay. But that play starts 150 feet away from that area when Laine curls away from his forecheck instead of pressuring the puck. This is the emphasis that Marty will put for he's not going to pull Laine aside or embarrass him in front of the whole group. He's going to talk to everybody and say, when we miss a detail like this, we pay for it over here. When he was cleaning up the defensive issues that the Canadiens had, and him and his staff did a hell of a job doing that from what they were in the first month of the season, he emphasized killing plays further up the ice. That's where it starts. And then if we can't do it there, we're going to do it at the blue line. And if we can't do it at the blue line, we're going to do it at the hash marks. And if we have to get into our D-zone coverage, then we'll have a different way of playing that. But the Canadiens' success over those 2 months between November 15th and January 15th, when they had the 7th best points percentage in the league, it wasn't artificial, was based on taking care of those little details of where's our neutral zone forecheck? Are we pressuring the puck? Are we creating odd man situations in our favor and not putting ourselves on our heels by missing assignments? Once you start to do that, either because you're mentally tired and disengaged or because you are cheating the game because you're trying to overthink it and create a situation for yourself where you can end up with an offensive opportunity that otherwise wouldn't be there because you're doing something that you think the opposition won't expect from you because it's not a part of the system, you're putting your team in trouble. And that is the very thin margin on which games are won in this league right now. And the Canadiens know that.
Yeah, the Canadiens had 76 points last year. All right.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction was that they were going to be in the mix and they were going to miss out on a playoff spot by a couple of points. How many points? It's who knows, right? There's one year that the Canadiens missed the playoffs with 96 points, and last year Washington got in with 91. But for the most part, I thought the Canadiens were going to pick up at least 1 win more per month, and so that's 7 months. That's 14 points. That brings them to 90, and who knows, maybe get somewhere between 90 and 94. Okay. How many points? And I know you've talked a lot about the process, the culture and all that stuff, but did you have an amount of points in your head that you thought would be a good season for the Canadiens?
I almost never look at it that way. So no.
So
I
you
never
never
look at the totals.
And I'm going to tell you why I'm asking you the question.
Sure.
Because 52 games in, the Canadiens have 3 more points than they had last year after 52 games. 3. It's not a lot, but I understand. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking they're a lot further along and they're playing a lot better hockey than they did a year ago, and probably the points don't matter.
Not last night, but sure.
No, but I understand that way of thinking. But when you think about it that way, and I know you don't look at points, and maybe I'll ask this to everyone watching us right now on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. If I tell you the Canadiens after 52 games right now have 3 more points this year than they had a year ago after 52 games, are you happy with that? Yes or no?
I would alter the question. I would alter the question.
Alter it.
Are you happy with those results, knowing that they started with 9 losses in their first 13 games, or like 13 losses in their first 17 games?
I know, but you can't just say to a team, forget about the first 13 or 14 games.
No, you can't. But I'm just saying,
yeah,
they lost 13 of their first 17 games, and they have a winning record 52 games into the season. So what does that tell you? There's been progress. You know, everybody was so quick to talk about regression. There has been progress. Now they have to ensure that they don't continue to slip further and that they get further away from their identity. Their identity is not so far out, but if you keep dropping games the way they are, finding ways to lose, as Marty put it, you put that at risk a little bit, and it's hard to get back. I think there's a lesson to take from this whole thing, right? You can't start as far behind the 8 ball as the Canadiens did. There's no margin for error when you do that. And you look at the standings while you're on your winning streak and you keep saying, damn, all these teams around us keep winning. But that's the league, you know? I got to give full credit to the Ottawa Senators. And if any of their fans watch your show, they'll love hearing it, because I did predict that the Canadiens would finish ahead of the Senators in the standings. This team has found the gear that it was missing for a long time in terms of the way they found their identity and the way they need to play. I'm impressed by some of their players buying into what they need to do in order to win games. There's been a maturity that's happened in Ottawa that's pretty similar to the one that we saw in Montreal for the 2 months that the Canadiens were winning games.
It's unbelievable. 5-2 win in Nashville tonight. Yeah. The Senators have now won 5 games in a row. Yeah. They sit in 3rd in the Atlantic, just 2 points behind second place Toronto.
Yeah,
and with Toronto having a game in hand, it's unbelievable. The hockey
they lost. They lost Ullmark. They lost 2 right-handed defensemen at the bottom end in Hamonic and Bernard Docker. These were things that if you told me, I would have said, the way they play, the style they play, and not having those 3 guys, that's going to be trouble for them. Now, credit to Travis Green, credit to the Sens stars for committing to the way you need to play to win games in this league. The Canadiens found that recipe and have to get back to it. Even without Caden Gooley, even without Emil Heineman, they have got to find a way, and it's got to be with everybody.
Yeah,
and they know. The beauty is that they know, okay? That is part of the progression we've seen from them so far this year. I don't know where they're going to finish in the end. I don't know if they're going to be back in the mix. Let's face it. They win the next 3 games, they're right back into where they want to be. Okay, they got a couple games in hands. They're chasing teams now. They're 9 points behind the Senators for 3rd place in the division with a couple games in hand, and they're 6 points back, or 5 points back of Columbus, 6 points back at Columbus for the second wild card, if I'm not mistaken. The numbers are usually not my specialty, but
the Canadiens are 6 points behind Columbus. The Canadiens have a game in hand.
There's teams that have jumped them in the standings that are in between them.
The Rangers, the Islanders, the Bruins, and the Lightning are all ahead of the Canadiens and out of a wild card spot. Mind you, the Lightning are 1 point behind Columbus. Lightning have 2 games in hand. The Bruins are 1 point behind Columbus. The Bruins have played 1 more game. The Islanders are 4 points behind Columbus. The Islanders have a game in hand. The Rangers are 5 points behind Columbus. The Rangers have a game in hand. The Canadiens are 6 points behind. Canadiens have a game in hand. But long story short, the Senators have won 5 in a row, and the Canadiens have lost 5 in a row.
Full value credit. None of this matters right now if you're the Canadiens, okay? It matters, but not as much as redeeming the standard of play that you created for yourself and having everybody take a hard look in the mirror and saying, am I doing enough to help the team? Am I taking care of the team? And I have the feeling with the character that I've seen within that room and the culture that they have, and it starts with that head coach.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to lead to them, as Marty always says, it's not going to guarantee wins. But I don't think they're that far off that recipe that they can't redeem it. And they better dig deep right now to do it, especially with 5 games to go before the Four Nations break, which will give them an opportunity to focus just on themselves.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this, Tony, I don't know how many points it's going to take to make the playoffs, but I do know this. They have, I think it's something like 11 or 12 more games against divisional opponents. That is where they have to make up their ground.
They got
those are the games where they have to play their best.
3 huge games versus the Ottawa Senators. One on February 22nd in Ottawa. It's a Saturday night.
Yeah,
in March, they'll play in Montreal versus Ottawa. And in April, they'll once again play in Ottawa versus the Senators. I want to get to my last topic, which won't last very long. But before I do, special thanks to Accent Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you. It's Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money. Whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business, you can call 514-363-3636 or visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. I said this last week on Thursday on my radio show on BPM Sport en français. I was talking to Denis Gauthier of RDS, who I like very much. Eric Oziel was part of the conversation, as was my op, Alex Longto. And I said, I don't know how much and how badly Gordon and Hughes want to make the playoffs. But if they want to make it at all costs, I would identify a trade where the Canadiens need to go out and get themselves a centerman and a defenseman. For that to happen, I think that if they're going to find a dance partner, chances are it'll be in the West. And for that to happen, chances are you have to find a team that's out of a playoff spot and maybe want to trade some of their players because they want to do a rebuild. I identified San Jose and I said, if they want to make it badly, well, then the trade to go out and make is for Granlund and CC. The Canadiens didn't, and that's okay. Dallas did 2 days later. And they gave up a first-round pick in 2025 and a conditional third. Would you have given up?
No.
What Dallas gave up to make that trade?
No. If I was Dallas, absolutely. If I was Montreal, absolutely not.
Got it.
No way.
That's fair.
No chance.
That's fair.
Listen, what happens between now and the break will be determinant in terms of what Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon do. And I know the trade deadline is in March.
Yes, the 7th.
The real deadline in terms of decision making is coming up in about 4 or 5 games here.
You're right. And by the way, it doesn't
deadline.
mean if they would have made that deal that they would have made the playoffs. It just,
Yeah, there's no way they would have made that deal. And there's no way they should have made that deal. Now, the Dallas Stars, absolutely. That was worth. They needed somebody to push Dumba down their lineup.
Let's say they make that deal. Let's say they make that deal.
Montreal?
And the first round pick ends up becoming a 15th pick overall. And the Canadiens make the playoffs. Not worth it?
No.
Okay.
No.
All depends on who the 15th pick is, right?
Yeah.
Cole Caulfield, once upon a time, was drafted 15th, but there's other players who never played in the National Hockey League who were also drafted 15th.
That's what I was thinking. Listen, like I said, more important than making the playoffs, and the Canadiens badly want to make the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah.
But they want to make it because they've earned their way there. Like this is a test. This season for Gordon and Hughes is about collecting information. Who's going to help us win in the future is what they're thinking. They're watching and evaluating. Right now, they're looking at Arbor Jackeye stepping into a bigger role on their defense and thinking this is a good opportunity to see if he can play his way up the lineup. This is a good opportunity to know that he can become a much more stable number 5 by playing number 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at Jaden Struble and saying, can he handle playing a lesser role and keep his mental engagement from shift to shift? They're looking at all kinds of things to gather the information they need to they're looking at Patrik Laine and they're saying, is this guy going to just score goals or is he going to show us something else? Is he going to be a part of our future? How badly does he want to be a part of our future? The standard The standard is what's important this season.
Yeah.
The accountability is what's important this season. Making the playoffs, if that standard and that accountability leads to that outcome, because the Canadiens will have focused enough on themselves and found the recipe that they need to play the way they did from November 15th to January 15th, or really even like January 19th.
Yeah.
Good. That's great news. That will be great news, and you will gain that much more if you're Hughes and Gorton, valuable information in terms of how you're going to make decisions moving forward. But it's not the be all end all, and it's certainly not they're going to start selling off key pieces that can net them players that inevitably lead. They could be more selective in terms of what they're going to do in the draft moving forward and what they're going to do with their picks. Because everything they do from this point forward is about, and not saying it wasn't beforehand because they were in an asset collection phase, a different phase. This is not about acquiring talent at all costs and just because it's talent. This is not about building a team that's really good and really talented. This is about building a winner. That's what these guys are in it for. And you don't build a winner because you're close to the playoffs, taking a first round pick and a third round pick for Cody Ceci and Michael Graham.
Well,
if you're the Canadiens, Canadiens.
The timing of the deal is actually good for the Canadiens because they're going to play a San Jose Sharks team tomorrow night without Michael Granlund and Cody Ceci, because once again, they played their first game with the Dallas Stars last night. Eric Engels, enjoy the hockey game tomorrow night, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, you too.
All right. Once again, I mean, I'm not planning to be on tomorrow night after the game, but, I think everyone's figured out by now. I'm a pretty crazy guy. So if something crazy happens in the hockey game, this crazy guy that you're looking at, he'll probably end up going on the podcast. But once again, we're not scheduled to be on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, because by the time the 10:30 p.m. Eastern time game is over, it's something like about 1:15 a.m. And as passionate as you are a fan base of the Montreal Canadiens, will you be on at 1:15 a.m. if I'm on? I don't know. But if it's a crazy game and something crazy happens, this crazy guy will probably be on. So just keep an eye on social media and keep an eye on the Twitter account of the Sick Podcast, because you never know. And keep an eye on my Twitter account, Tony Marinaro, TonyMarinaro, because, Tom says, Tony, if they lose, get some sleep. That would be good. Hab says we can watch the next day too. I know, but that means I have to stay up until 2:00 in the morning. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Tom says, best subs, Manzo's or Giuliano's? I've never gone to Giuliano's, so I can't answer that question. Manzo's is a good sub. They stack it a lot, though. Like if you're going to an electric chair and you're going to be dead in 10 minutes, you have to have one last meal. That would probably be a really good meal. I've never been to Giuliano's before. Maybe I'll go and try one. A lot of places in Montreal have great subs, by the way. A lot of places. Special thanks to everyone for watching. Special thanks to Eric Engels for joining me the way he did. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. Special thanks to all of our sponsors: Energy Transportation Group, Bittt Tibi, Playground, Accent Insurance Solutions, and Betway, and Shane Gaumont and Master Control. And a special hello to Sammy and Yellow, who are in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. Yeah. Actually, I don't think they're sticking around for the Super Bowl, but they're going to be there all week with all their football podcasts, broadcasting live from there. Agnello FaceTimed me right before the podcast started tonight. He was like 10 feet away from Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid. The Cavalleros living the dream. Good for them. Hope to see you all at Sammy's Valentine's Gala, by the way, on Saturday, April 5th, with all proceeds going to Cure SMA. And also, do we have the graphic for the trivia night? We have that? Look at this. All right, Apps Trivia Night. Join me and Quizmaster Brian, I've never met him before, on Wednesday, February 19th to test your Montreal Canadiens knowledge at La Belle et la Boeuf, 1275 Avenue des Canadiens de Montréal. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Trivia begins at 7:30 p.m. $35 per ticket includes entry to the quiz and a choice of 3 burgers. Trivia teams can be up to 4 players. I'll see you then. Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy the Canadiens in San Jose tomorrow and the Canadiens in Los Angeles versus the Kings on Wednesday. I should be back on Thursday. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.